Don't you think it is more than our desire, it is our duty to stand up for our fellow citizens? And I do not see any better alternative than to stand up for healthy protests against the government policies. Lastly, I would like to conclude that I feel when it gets to extremes, it is our duty and right to raise our voices. And this is how we can strengthen the power of India, the largest democracy in the world. Thank you.
Tanya, basically you are trying to say that impatience is the new life. Okay, I would like to invite our next speaker, Archita, for this time.
Good morning, everybody. Well, I'm going to support the discussion. Well, popular struggles and movements are the major vehicles for ordinary people's participation in a democratic country. It's a sort of continuous performance through displays and campaigns by which ordinary people raise up their voice and make a significant decision focusing on a specific political and social issue. Over the years, these movements have been democratizing the nation, but more often they have flourished after democratism. We have seen the power of people when many people stood and fighted the East India Company rule. People came together, although the ideology was anti-colonial, but it was supported by a vision of secularism, democratism, and a political democratic structure, which finally resulted to the end of a British rule. Some of the well-known movements in our country, like the Narmada Bachao Andolan, Chipko movement, and Chhattisgarh Mukti Morcha, all these movements distance themselves from the political parties, or you can say that try to act across the ideologies of the political parties. Not only this, we have seen the growth of people unity when many people protested the Jessica Lals murder case. People had candlelight virgins at the India Gate in New Delhi. In the immense uproar, thousands of hundreds of people emailed and SMS their outrages and petitions forwarded by the government and the media channels and the newspapers to the president, others seeking remedies for the alleged miscarriage of justice. And these movements finally resulted to the approved High Court decision of life imprisonment to the guilty. But today, the most recent of social movement is campaign against corruption, led by a group of social activists, Anna Hazare, Arvind Kejriwal, Swami Agnivesh, Kiran Bedi, and Baba Ramdev. Here, Hazare initiated a satyagraha against corruption for passing a stronger anti-corruption bill as concept in the Jan Lokpal bill. When this demand was rejected by the government, then he started doing a hunger strike. This movement was supported highly by the media, and people from all over the world, from inside and outside India, also supported it. In the social media, internet social media like Twitter and Facebook, people expressed their views, and online campaigns, signature campaigns like Awas got more than 10 lakh signatures in just 36 hours. So this movement has made certainly corruption a big issue in our country. So in fine, I would like to say that any popular movement that emerges from the constituents of a democracy can establish its position in people's hearts to make a social change for the good of all, that finally and ultimately leads to the strengthening of the spirit of democracy.
Opinion of yours. Well, how would you reply to that, Rishabh?
My reply goes like this. Firstly, I would like to say that I don't agree with this thing that popular struggles and movements always strengthen the spirit of democracy. Because, firstly, it sponsors an image of a democracy as incapable. If a democratic government is of the people, by the people, and for the people, then you must also trust those elected people. And now, what happens is that these pressure groups and movements, with their fan following and their financial power, they try to suppress the government. And no, you know one thing, the demands always raised by these movements are not always beneficial for all. To get the best out of this issue, there has to be mutual agreement on this thing. For example, take this Anna Hazare's movement. He said that you have to bring the Prime Minister under this Lokpal bill. Now suppose tomorrow the Prime Minister comes under this Lokpal bill. There can be a false case against the Prime Minister. And you know, if the Prime Minister resigns, the entire assembly dissolves. Now what? Now he says that team Anna says that their members would instigate against the Prime Minister. And now, if the Prime Minister comes under the issue, then what's the guarantee that the situation won't be influenced by the other political parties, by rich people? Why won't they try to overthrow the Prime Minister? Okay. And now, the next thing is they undermine the unity of the country. When people tend to take sides. Now, like Anna Hazara's movement, the message was clear from them, from Team Anna. They said, if you are with us, if you support us, then you are with us, or otherwise you are against us. Now, why should an educated person who knows the right or wrong, why shall he take sides? Now, one more thing is that the clear political instability. Obviously, it's there. Now, suppose Nepal formed into a democracy. Okay, Nepal got to a democracy. Now, say there was one more struggle against the 7-party alliance. What would have happened? Where would have Nepal gone then? What would have happened to Nepal? And then lastly, I would like to tell about the election factor. The popular struggles and movements that are initiated by these interest groups, they try to influence the elections. They make emotional claims against political parties, and they use their financial power. And now I guess holding fair and just elections are a part of being in the state of democracy.
Mrs. Bhatia, please send the monitor. Mrs. Bhatia, please send the monitor.
So, okay, if the entire country of all the people are supporting this issue, I'm not saying that you can't just press the neck of the government, and if the government is not listening to your views, okay, you can force them to listen to you, but a peaceful negotiation has to be there, and there has to be a mutual agreement. That would be the best thing. Okay, so that's what I had to say. Thank you.
Minute of the debate.
If sir comes, he will, I think he wants to come. If sir comes, he will immediately see him and pass it on to us. She is going to answer and be asking. Yes. Yeah, let me reach out and see. I'll send you.
Well, Rishabh, you seriously lined up
There is a benefit from not assembly, it's from parliament. He's not part of the assembly, he's part of the parliament. When you said it was some technical point. Yes. You just keep quiet.
Well, Rishabh, you seriously heated up this debate. Not like one of my friends, Abhi, there to stand up and take up the opportunity of speaking on the topic.
Good morning. Today I would like to share my own views and ideas on the topic Popular Struggles and Movements Strengthens the Spirit of Democracy. I will speak in the favor of the panel discussion. It is true that democracy evolves through popular struggles and movements. But democracy usually involves conflicts between those groups who have exercised power and those who aspire to have a sharing power. And this only happens when a country is going through transition to democracy, expansion of democracy, or deepening of democracy. First, let me bring you with two instances that we are already familiar with. First, in Nepal, people revolted and started a movement in April 2006 to gain popular control over the government from the king. In this way, Nepal won the democracy. Secondly, in Bolivia, the world bank pressurized the government to give up its control of municipal water supply. The government sold all of these rights to the multinational company. The company immediately increased the prices 4 times. This led to serious agitation. Finally, the contract with MNC was cancelled and the water was restored to municipality at old rates. This was known as the Bolivia's water war. Here we can clearly see that popular struggle in Bolivia was about
democracy is a form of government which is meant for the people and run by their representatives. So it is a concept which revolves around the people. Now, as my counterpart is saying, the democracy is strengthened democracy is strengthened by popular movements. They also mean that we have to cut ourselves, take the blood out. It is like casting a doubt on our own government in place the people have elected. But do you think the government is exactly elected by the people? No. Today on an average, only about 40 to 50% of the people participate in the polling, and the candidate who wins the election gets 50% of this. So he's a representative of only about 25% of the total population. Do you think he can connect with the rest 75? No, I don't think so. No wonder popular struggles are there. Rather, you can increase. You can rather improve the democratic process rather than shouting on the roads. You would have a better government tomorrow serving you. Now let us look at the nature of popular movements. Very often popular movements are driven out by whipped up emotions rather than real understanding of the situation. Media tends to exaggerate the real situation for their own benefits, for increasing the TRPs. So do you think the people have real knowledge of what is happening there? No, I don't think so. Now let me tell you something. Popular movements are like cuts on the democratic body. While some are necessary for surgical purposes, rest all leave cuts on the body. So rather than cribbing about the government, we should increase the people's participation in the democracy, and tomorrow we'll have a better future. Thank you.
It was nice to hear Abhishek Nayana like Principal Sir to express his views on the topic.
Morning, children. It's indeed a rare privilege for me to sit through this session for a very short time. I have heard a few speakers expressing their views very fiercely, and in fact now I am torn between for and against, whether to take this side or the other side. But generally speaking, as rightly somebody pointed out, that nothing comes without struggles, conflicts. If you just turn the pages of Indian history, or for that matter any history you turn over the leaves, you will find behind the freedom of a nation there has been slavery for years. There has been exploitation for generations, for centuries. And then at last the nation breathed freedom, became free. We cannot compare these popular movements similarly exactly to that situation, but somewhere, well, there are 2-3 dimensions to this issue. We have a constitution in place. Every country has its own constitution. All democratic countries, not to talk of the other countries where the dictatorial government is there, and